Hello, and welcome as always to my room. So, last weekend, me and the family saw The Flash. We saw it at the chain out here, the Harkins chain, which is based in Arizona, but they have a number of theaters in the Southwest. They have two in California. One of them is in Cerritos. And I just love the Harkins chain, and we saw it at one of their premium large format screens in Goodyear, Arizona, the Estrella Falls location, on a Cine 1 XL theater, 80-foot widescreen with Dolby Atmos sound. And I thought it was incredible. I didn't, incredible, honestly, is too strong of a word. I thought it was very good, solid entertainment. I liked it. I liked the different aspects of the multiverse. If you read the comics of DC and Marvel and you watch the movies of the universes, you can kind of see there are similarities. It was great to see Michael Keaton back as Batman. As much as I love Christian Bale in the Christopher Nolan films, he's always going to be my Batman because of Summer of '89. But I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. And the big news is the movie's tanking at the box office. Warner's is taking a loss. And I think there's a number of factors for that. The big one is the main star himself, Ezra Miller. To say they have had some problems is an understatement. They have had many, many, many problems. Holding somebody hostage and potentially raping them, beating a woman up at karaoke in Hawaii, and then a family took him in to help him out who were big fans of his work, and then he robs the family and asks for their credit cards and driver's license, and it's the guy is a mess. The guy's a mess. Supposedly he's getting help now. He did show up to the premiere, kept a bit of a low profile. But I think that's the big factor, is the Ezra Miller controversy. It's kind of like, why are we going to go see this movie that stars this young person who's done all of these insane things? At first, I didn't think I could stand by it, but I want to see a good movie, and everybody who saw it during the pre-release screening said that The Flash is incredible. It's going to turn the DCEU around, DC Extended Universe around. And it possibly could have. But that's another thing. Director James Gunn, is coming in, and he's taking it over and rebooting it. I'm pretty excited to see where he is going to be taking it. I loved The Suicide Squad. To me, that was my favorite DCEU movie. As long as he doesn't get rid of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, I'm cool with whatever he does. The Flash, I really think, despite Ezra Miller's issues, is a very good, solid, entertaining film. It did have a lot of delays in its conception, but I thought it was a really good, entertaining film. But there's a couple other factors here. And I think people are starting to get tired of the whole superhero multi-universe shared story films. And I think people are getting tired of existing IPs or rebooting IPs. IP, international property. One could make the argument that every movie out there is an international property. Whether you're optioning a book or even a screenplay that's been floating around out there for a number of years on several different studio execs' desks. So one can make that argument that almost every movie is an IP. But I think people are just getting tired of these I mean, mega $1 million productions where it's just one chase scene after another, one chase scene after another. John Wick, in my opinion, is the only exception where people are allowed to do that. But, the new Fast 10 film didn't do as well as they thought it was going to be. And this is the beginning of the end. So how many part twos and part threes of Fast 10s there going to be? But, it's just a lot of money on the screen for car chases and lots of CGI done by about 40 different effects houses. So it's not just Industrial Light and Magic anymore. And you watch the movie, and to quote Rob Burnett, Rob, I want to appear on Let's Get Physical. He did a very good video on this, and the movies costing as much as they are. I used to think it was inflation, but his argument was the producers have forgotten how to make big budget movies on a budget of $45 to $50 million. It's almost like you're just throwing a lot of money at these things, 200 million, 300 million, and you watch the movie and you're like, huh, where did all this money go? I'm a big fan of the MCU, or at least up to Avengers Endgame. And I love Avengers Endgame, and I have a personal connection to that film now. But when I look at the budget on it and I see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and how much green screen was used, so you know how much CGI there was in world building and partial sets, only, or sometimes not even sets being built. The whole argument of CGI when it was first being used in the early 90s, and George Lucas took advantage of it first for the movie that Gloria Willard Hike directed based on his original story, Radioland Murders, and the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, the show that he did. The idea of CGI was because we can't afford to take thousands of extras on a mountaintop anymore, but if you take maybe 100 and you use CGI for, let's say, crowd duplication, you get that exact same thing at less cost. You could build partial sets and have a complete New York in the 1920s, with CGI to keep the cost down, because you can't go and rebuild entire street blocks anymore like Francis Ford Coppola did on The Godfather Part 2. So that makes sense. But if that's the case, why are these movies costing $200-300 million? I mean, they're not using 10,000 extras. So why are they costing that much? I don't know. And I notice that when you have a filmmaker like Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve, Dune Part 2 is coming out. I can't wait for that. Yes, their movies cost $100 million, but they're not $200-300 million. Christopher Nolan with Oppenheimer, which I can't wait for. I got my tickets to see it in true IMAX 70 millimeter. I noticed that when they are building the stuff and they are doing the stuff for real on the set, that it's not costing as much as Fast 10 or The Flash. So maybe there's a backlash towards this type of filmmaking and these existing IPs and the superhero genre. I wish, there's always been, a changing of the guard at times where what was the new thing and what was the trend eventually seems old. We talk about the film fanatics, talk about the glory days of the roadshow engagements where there'd be either historical epics like Lawrence of Arabia or big budget musicals that are based on Broadway shows like West Side Story and My Fair Lady and The Sound of Music, presented usually in 70 millimeter at a big theater with curtains and There'd be an overture at the beginning of the movie as the audiences are seated, and the intermission and part two. In the 60s, you had a lot of them that were musicals, and the musicals like Star with Julie Andrews, which I think is actually a very good movie. Dr. Dolittle, 20th Century Fox, released that. Camelot at Warner Brothers. Hello, Dolly at Fox, where they started to look like old warhorse movies. And eventually the audiences started to reject those, and they wanted to go see Bonnie and Clyde. I think the really true successful roadshow engagement in the late 60s was Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. But people wanted to go see Bonnie and Clyde. They wanted to go see The Graduate. They were going towards these smaller films that were saying something about the times. I think it's telling that one of the biggest films last year, even during the Oscars, was Everything Everywhere All at Once. That movie cost $15 million, and it looks like they spent over $200 million on it. Maybe learn how to make these films again for $45 to $50 million, which were massive budgets back in the 90s. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Dick Tracy was around $60 million, and that was unheard of at the time. But maybe that is the way to go. I don't know. But I think a lot of those factors are playing into the Flash backlash. But please tell me some of your thoughts. If you've seen The Flash, did you like it? What do you think it is? Please give me some of your thoughts on that. I desperately would like to know. And thank you very much. Spread the word about my channel. I never say this. You'll click subscribe and hit that bell notification. But thank you very much, and I will talk to you all soon.